Okay, good. We all live. We all live, Patrick.
We are live. Or-
Hey,
it
Patrick, how's
worked.
it going?
It's going well. And yourself?
I'm doing good, thank you. So, welcome to the show, the Influence Me, Influence More podcast, a podcast by Influence Tonight. Before I present you, I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on. So, Influencers Tonight is trying to adapt to this situation, COVID-19. So, we cancel our events for April and all the upcoming events until September at least. So, right now we're doing podcast, and it's a monthly podcast. And I just want to say thank you to our collaborators and also to everyone that is involved with us, which is Patrick, Creator HQ, who has been helping us a lot since the beginning. And also, we have a new partnership with mTOR Cerveau, which is an organization that prevents everything that is with, how can I say, with ABC in French, everything that's with ABC. I don't know how to say it in English, but everything that is going with brain damage, something like
Hmm.
that. So I want to present you Patrick. Hey Patrick, how's it going?
I'm going great.
Good.
Yeah.
So I just want to let you know, to put people in context. Can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah. At the very core, I am a content creator. I
Yeah.
started on YouTube about 10 years ago. And I was always creating content before that, before the internet era.
Yes.
And with the years progressing, I wanted to meet other content creators. I was always fascinated with the whole YouTuber phenomenon, the communities that's being developed around the world. So I said, why not meet people here? We started the YouTube community um, in 2014.
Okay.
It was an online community, and shortly after, we started doing in-person events because we
Yes.
wanted to connect people, and we saw the value of connecting people outside of the virtual world. And so yeah, we've been doing events ever since. We the community now, it's called Creator HQ, like you presented at the beginning.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we're a community for content creators. We try to supply as many information and resources as we can to helping creators grow in their field.
Yes.
At the same time, I still continue on with my YouTube channel. I still continue on doing other kind of creation, because that's the core of what a creator is.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, with today's realities, of course, a lot of things have changed in terms of doing physical events. So we've been trying
Exactly.
to we're going back to our you know core, you might say, our beginnings of doing stuff online and trying
Yeah.
to give as much information online, and of course creating opportunities the same way you're doing right now and doing it live. Us too, doing different kinds of lives or different kinds of online events, just something to bringing people together, to kind of combating isolation. Because
Yeah.
already before this, we were talking about going to events or
Yeah.
going to a co-working space or a cafe and working with like-minded people there, to combating the isolation that already creators were being faced before all this. And
Yes.
now that it's mandatory for everyone, it's being very hard on a lot of people. So yeah, at least if we can like do the chats like we're doing right now, or
Yeah.
other kinds of like group events where we can bring people together, it's already helping people, and we want to continue doing that to
So before,
continuously make them
yeah.
grow.
Yeah, so before we go really in depth about the situation right now, I guess where does it come, that passion from? That passion from content creator. Do you create content yourself as a, what you say, YouTuber? Do you have your own YouTube channel? Where does it
Yeah,
come from?
yes, and before YouTube too. So like creating content comes from the heart.
Okay.
Like it's always the desire of creating content, and not necessarily attaching the business aspect right away to it. Like I just want to create content. I want to make videos. I want to share that with people, and then with the internet, of course, with YouTube, we're able to bring that to worldwide. We're able to bring our content global.
Yeah.
So my YouTube channel that I'm mostly active on, a little bit less today because of the situation, but usually what I'm active on, it's called What's Up Montreal. So we cover things around the city of Montreal, things to
Okay.
discover. And it really comes from a passion of creating, and everything after that, the whole aspect of like when we tell artists how to survive with their craft and stuff, that's where the business aspect comes into place.
So for you, was something that you really loved, creating content. I guess that's why you starting to get involved in the community. So was there any reason in particular that make you wanted to go like in depth in that sector?
I mean, finding a community.
Yeah, no, for yourself. Like, what did you decide to really go in that on that creative?
Oh,
You know.
like I was saying, like I've been creating content ever since I'm a kid.
Okay.
Before internet even was a thing, but
Okay.
um, yeah, no, like sharing what I create, bringing them, bring that online,
Yeah.
sharing my vision and certain things, my art form, certain things.
Exactly.
It doesn't even have to be at the core. It doesn't have to be about money. It doesn't have to be about how many views I get. It just brings me pleasure to create something and put it out there. Some videos I might make might get tens and thousands of views. Other
Yeah.
videos might get only the hundreds or less. And but maybe I like those videos better. It really, the numbers aren't the ones that influence me to create.
Yeah.
And yeah. So like I said, like after that, it's a whole. If you want to think about business, if you want to like live with what you're doing, that's where I had to say, like, okay, do I want to make my YouTube channel more serious? Do I want to survive by doing this?
Yes.
Am I really solving a problem? Am I helping people with this? And because the answer were yes for everything, I started developing more business tactics around it and making it much
Okay.
more sustainable for me. And
Yeah.
at the same time, teaching all this to people from the community.
So, are you the guy that's behind the camera creating content, or in front of the camera? Like, there's some different type of content creators and influencers. Those that are
Hmm.
in front of camera and those behind creating content. What type of are you? What type of content creator are you?
Well, if you check my YouTube channel, you'll see that I've done both. But it's a good question to know because
Yeah.
I like being behind the camera most of the time.
Yeah.
Just because like being in front of the camera means, especially if it's your show. If it's not your show, it's a different thing. But when it's your show and you're in front of the camera
Yes.
producing it, you have to also make sure that everything is running well. And until you find that harmony, until you find that good team where you can trust and know that they know what they're doing, you'll always be over worried and you won't be able to perform as well in front of the camera. And sometimes I can lose control more and more. So I'm more the type of being behind the camera, but then again, I'm not shy to being in front of the camera.
So you
So
can do both because there's some content creators that only can do one because, like you
yeah,
say, they can be shy. So they are behind the camera and they create good content. So how do you realize what type of content creator are you? Do you have to ask yourself questions? Do you have to know what you like more than anything else?
it's tied with your feelings. Do you feel comfortable being in front of the camera? If you're in front of the camera and you don't like it, like it's really stressful for you, really this is not good for you. You don't find that you're not attracted to that, then by default you will fall into someone who's behind the camera. Because like people who are behind the camera, who are directing or filming or doing whatever it takes to be behind, and then doing the post production and editing and so on. These are all the different type of art forms. And
Okay.
as creators, we also learn that we're not good at everything, right? So
Yes.
but like being in front of the camera is one thing, and then there's tons of other different positions you might say behind the camera, and you have more chance of falling in one of those because there's way more choices.
Exactly. So you were talking about YouTube. You start getting in a YouTube community. What year exactly?
I created the community in 2014.
Yes.
I discovered there was a phenomenon, like a whole vlogging thing, around 2011.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's when I started vlogging with my previous YouTube channels,
Okay.
and I was like, what is this? Like, like, people love creating videos like me. Like, that's crazy. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like, I got to like, you might say, investigate or like try to learn more about these communities, try to know more about these creators, and eventually even traveling because like since Montreal didn't really have a scene back then, I was traveling to Toronto, I was traveling to LA, and meeting these creators and seeing what they're doing, what's their realities, how they're coming together, what makes them strong.
Yeah.
And LA was the perfect case. LA was my case study. LA had a lot of people coming together, and then you had all the best creators coming from there at
Exactly.
first
Yeah.
because that's where everyone was moving. Like the creators there, they didn't originally live in LA. They all moved from somewhere else, and it was the YouTube golden era during, like, I would say 2010, 11, 12. It was golden era for YouTube. It was like YouTube was a thing.
Yes. Yes.
And
Exactly.
and the big creators of today, the ones who have the big books, the shows, the mentions or whatnot, they all started around that time.
Yeah.
And everywhere else, it was just lacking. It wasn't lacking talent, but it was lacking that energy. that kind of pressure, because there's a lot of pressure where they were also pressuring each other to be better and better,
Yes.
and that made them really go up, and they also joined forces. So I was like, okay, so being in a physical space altogether has its own value. So that's why by creating a community here, bringing people together, we were able to connect people, create new talents together, and I mean, we saw like since 2014, we've been keeping track on people's numbers and stuff. We saw like a significant increase in people
Yes.
who are starting to collaborate, people who are starting to learn and meet and do stuff, and so many new creators came up to the point where I was getting testimonials back then, between 2014 and 16. A lot
Yes.
of people were writing to us. They're like, thank you for existing, because we almost gave up content creating because we saw there was no purpose. Or we also saw people saying, we started creating content because now we see there's encouragement happening here.
Yes.
So there was a lot of great testimonials like that emerged during the beginning of the years. And I mean, right now it became so regular that it's no longer like a thing that we continuously like we see the comments, but it's not as it was before, because before it was like one or two people, and now it's like everyone,
Yeah.
so
So,
so it doesn't mean it's less special. It just means like um we kind of got less sensibilisé, kind of like
okay.
of this, but like it's always the beauty, and it's always what pushes us to continue in doing
Yes.
the
So,
community.
what makes Los Angeles so special? So we get inspired by Los Angeles,
Hmm.
Montreal. You got inspired by Los Angeles. There's always Los Angeles is always one step ahead. TikTok, there's the hype house, all these houses, YouTuber houses, Instagram. So what makes Los Angeles so special?
Well, study shows that they're 10 years in advance than us.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So like right now, like we're talking about podcasts, we're talking about all these different things over here in Quebec.
Yes.
And when Los Angeles have done it, and they've been like beyond it,
Yeah.
like they've went through all these phases. Like when between, what was it, 2015, 16, when blogging was becoming popular here, they've been past that. They've done that before,
Yeah.
So it's like the way, there's a whole geography of how things travel. Like
Okay.
there's a whole geography of how music travels, how music styles and stuff travel around the world when there's a new release and stuff. And it's the same way for content. It's the same way for trends. So when creators from LA are coming together and they're doing new stuff, and then there's a push with the companies, there's a push with all these different brands, and including the social media platforms, and
Yes.
putting energy there. They're doing the stuff, but then they're moving to something else, and that whatever they went through is coming to us at a later pace. So like we're like, oh cool, we're on TikTok now, and then you go there and they're like, oh yeah, we've done that, you
Yeah.
know
they're
so
so ahead. Yeah. They're so ahead.
yeah, well, a lot of places, like Mexico is another example.
Yeah.
Mexico has a very, very, very strong community for creators. It's insane how big it is, and even the brands there, like different companies, they've been doing influencer marketing way ahead of us, and now they're past that. They don't
Okay.
only do influencer marketing; they're doing all kinds of different type of marketing that we just started adapting, like ambassadorship and so on. Like they've been doing all kinds of stuff way before us. And when I said, oh, we're on Facebook or we're on Snapchat, they laughed on us. And this was like 3 years ago, because they're like, we've done
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We went through this, and it's like, yeah, it's a question of geography, not because where it's placed, it's because of like the way the trends are traveling, and how people are coming together and adapting these new things, and how does also the business climate around adapt it too. If here we have less studies and we have less people, like less brands adapting and supporting creators,
Yes.
everything's slowed down. And that's the difference between here and everywhere else. Like even Europe is advanced in here. Toronto is way advanced in here. When you go to Toronto, you see banners of YouTubers
Yeah. Exactly.
across the city. We've had that kind of here. We had it for a very short period, but
What is
where
the
is it?
typical rate to Montreal? Because Toronto is not so far like Los Angeles. What does Montreal take? So is it the language? Because it's more French and it takes more time to come here. What is it?
It's not the language, as we saw like Europe and also Mexico adapting it, and they don't, like, English is not their main language.
Mhm.
It's a cultural thing, because not only for influencer marketing, like a lot of things, we're more cautious in Quebec. Like, you
Yeah.
know, like even when we spend, just think about how people spend here. We don't just spend money regularly. People are much more cautious about money. They're much more aware of different things. So people take more time here. It's a cultural thing. So adapting new things will take time. And by the way, everything I'm saying is based on different studies that I've been following for many years.
Okay.
Um, but then you go to like places like California, just their spending power. They keep buying
Yeah.
continuously, and then you have like all these, what's it called? Even like just looking at Amazon, how Amazon works there versus here. They
Yes.
have so many tools at Amazon that we don't offer those features here. You know,
Okay. Okay.
so it just kind of shows like how, you know, people just move at a faster pace with less, maybe less restrictions, with less thinking. Sometimes I don't like. There's so many things that can go on, but
Yeah.
in Quebec, culturally, we've been slow on many things, including the adaptation of creating content
Yeah.
and moving to the new platforms and
Well,
stuff.
I guess California is always, it's a state that has a lot of like Hollywood, Silicon Valley. So
Hmm.
they're always innovating. So I think things go fast there also. So that's for sure.
Yeah, and even if Toronto is later than LA,
Yeah.
their expedition year is 6 years compared to Quebec. So we're 4 years behind Toronto. But Toronto also is like, they spend a lot of money, but they also like spend a lot of like energy into this. Like
Yeah.
they believe more into this, and that's why like having the mainstream media putting the faces of major YouTubers from Toronto on big banners plays a huge factor on the culture. Another thing that's interesting, and I've observed this, is events.
Yeah.
So when it comes to LA, they do a lot of YouTube related events or
Okay.
social media events, right? VidCon, Playlist
Yeah.
Live, and there's a whole list of them that makes a big impact on the society. Toronto does the same thing. Toronto started Buffer Festival about 8 years ago,
Okay.
and Buffer Festival is a film festival. Now it's an international film festival, but for web content creators. But what made it different is that they do a huge red carpet outside.
Okay.
Doing a red carpet outside, people who are passing by. So I used to go every year before, and
Yeah.
every year I go, the mentality of people changed. The public, the first year people used to laugh. What
Yes.
is this? Is it Justin Bieber who's going to walk on the red carpet? They used to laugh.
Like.
This is quoted. This is actual reactions of people who are walking around us. This is what happened. More the years progress, that evolved. We had people leaving their TV stations, the studio. They're like, oh my God, how can I be on that red carpet?
Yeah.
So the mentality of people changed, but because they were continuously doing that red carpet, making a big deal out of creators and all that, change people mentalities. Even schools, a lot of universities in Toronto, they do studies on YouTubers. I know
Okay.
because they even send me some surveys and other kinds of questionnaires to fill out to kind of help them with their studies.
Yes.
In Montreal, I think I got my first study, like students contacting me for the first time this year, like officially doing a
Uh,
research. So it's been like, again, education is one of them. Public is another thing, you know. Getting to the public eye is another thing, you know. Education on for creators and education for companies is another thing. So
exactly.
all these different sectors, and the business sector also, so all these different sectors have to adapt so that we become you know, beyond the trend, you
Yeah.
know. And that's what we've been observing in LA. That's what we were observing in Toronto, Mexico, Europe, even Tokyo. But here we don't have all the points yet. We're
I
missing some
guess
of them.
also because those countries have big influences that really move things. Like in the United States, you have those Logan Pauls, Jake Pauls, and all those YouTubers, and you have all the big Instagram influencers that have like 1, 2, 3 million followers. Here in Quebec, maybe we have less of that. They still have like Elizabeth Yu and others that have like a big following, but maybe it's
Hmm.
not enough to get to the mainstream.
We've had some creators back in the days that are from Montreal, like Epic Mealtime, that were very big for a long time.
Yeah,
I mean, they were from Montreal, but they did move to LA, and then they come back and so on. One of the biggest YouTube channels is based here in Montreal, which is Watch Mojo.
oh yeah,
You
yeah,
check, so if you check Watch Mojo, so we do have like big names here too. But the issue is also like who's the person who's consuming the media behind it? Is
exactly.
it, you know, so like if you check the statistics for French YouTubers here in Montreal, the majority of people who are consuming the content is people from Europe.
Okay.
You know, they still have a big following here. They have a huge following here, but not as big as Europeans. And
Okay.
then the English content creators, their biggest audience is also outside of Quebec.
Okay.
So it's a question of consumption. Are people here consuming? And this is why, if the consumer is not like, watching stuff from here, businesses are not providing money. There's no education around that. There's no like people doing studies. So it's all tied in
Yes.
together.
Yes.
And versus Toronto, where they have YouTubers appearing on TV shows, where they have YouTubers appearing on mainstream TV. Like much music back in the days was having YouTubers having their own shows.
Okay.
Today we have Lily Singh, um, Superwoman, who's a very very big creator from Toronto. Who yes, she lives in the States today, but she has her own TV show, her late night show. Like bringing the people that we know onto mainstream makes a huge difference.
Yes.
Gets people to be part of the culture. And in here, we're still like a lot of creators are still fighting to being part of the Canadian or Quebec media culture. There's still a discrepancy between.
Yeah.
But more and more, we're seeing better cases though. Like for example, like local TV shows like Occupation Double or
Yeah.
different TV shows that we're watching. They have been integrating more and more creators. I cannot say like we're not doing that. It's just that we started way later than anyone else.
For example, like you mentioned Occupation Double, a lot of them they start on TV and then they get all after that they get like a big following and they become influencers too. So they're already mainstream media, so they become influencers at the same time. So they are both already. So that's also good.
Yeah, but it's also a very recent case, right? So it's like these are all new, which were something that the States and the rest of the world were adapting way before this. So
Yes.
like I said, it's getting better and better. It's not like, but we're still like it's gonna take a big push to being where they are. And that's why like us, who are creating events, is always great, because then by creating events, we're not only providing education for the
Yes.
public who's attending and even creators who are attending, or businesses, but it's also, if we can do something that's in the public eye, if it's like the red carpet theory, we're
Yeah.
having a red carpet and then people are seeing who's walking on it and stuff and ask questions. Again, it's gonna feel ridiculous in the first couple of years. They're gonna be like, what is going on? Do it constantly, and then you'll see that effects might change, and people are going to be like, oh, okay, these are serious people, like let's go
Yes.
check them out. And there has been, I've seen only one big festival here that actually stopped doing it, but they were doing like that whole red carpet phenomenon, but not with the actual red carpet, but different colors. But they were doing those, and I went to that event, and I was taking pictures. It was phenomenal seeing all those lineups and stuff. And it was at Place des Arts. Unfortunately, they only did it for 2 years,
What was it called?
and it was called Oh My Fest.
Oh, my fest. Okay.
It was a French festival, but yeah, unfortunately, they stopped doing it. And by stopping doing it, what happens is that people lose interest. They're like, okay, it was done. It was in the past. Let's move on.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's why like the public didn't get that reaction. The public have to like having the red carpet, and if I show you pictures, you're gonna get a better picture of what it looked like. But if I show you what it is, like it was disrupting people's traffic. People couldn't walk on the street anymore. They had to see this. They couldn't pass the street without seeing this.
Okay.
So, and it was central Toronto. Like it was the center of Toronto, where thousands of people passed at all the intersections of the metro. So a lot of people were seeing it. So it was impossible to miss.
Yeah.
And that's how it created a buzz, And one of the thing is, these kind of events take a lot of money and take a lot of support.
Yes.
And Buffer Festival, or even VidCon, or all these different festivals wouldn't have survived if they didn't have all this different kind of backing of
You mean
big companies backing them. Yeah.
not so for governments, or like just mostly companies?
Governments try to get involved, but I've seen like VidCon for a long time. I've seen YouTube helping them, and they stopped at some point, but they were helping them. But more concretely, Buffer Festival had CBC.
Yeah.
So CBC was completely not completely, but they were backing a certain good level of at least being present at the event, taking part of the event, having booths at the event. It was something having CBC there, and then you have various different kind of companies supporting them. So it was more mostly in the private sector. The closest thing to the public sector was CBC.
Okay.
Because they're a public broadcasting channel. they're the closest thing to public, but most of the funding was coming from there. I have to check. I have to check if recently they got any funding from Canada Media Fund. I don't know. I have to check what's been happening
Yes.
recently. But it's possible. It's possible that they are starting to get involved with the governments. I mean, if someone asks me for my opinion, governments should get involved because we are creating culture. You
Yeah.
know, we are the backbone for a lot of things. We're creating culture. We're creating jobs. Okay, we're paying taxes as well. We are helping small businesses grow
Yes.
because they don't necessarily have the money for big TV ads or whatnot, and creators can create with way less budgets.
Yes.
Creators can also reach way more people and have more trackable returns. There are so many advantages of working with content creators, and like if the public sector, like the government, can get involved, that would be fantastic because then there's a whole benefit coming back to them, which is economic, as much economic than cultural.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about that, because we're gonna get in the situation we are right now. But before we get into that, I just want to ask you, where can people contact you? Because I know that you have to go because you're hosting an event also. So
Yeah.
where people can contact you, Patrick? What platforms are you on?
The best place to contact me, well, if people don't have my personal, it will be like going on our webpage, creatorhq.org. Once you get there, I mean, our email is there, our social media is there, and we're very responsive. Like we're able like to go on and check and be able to respond to anyone. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm gonna put all the links on the description so people can follow Patrick. And you have any questions on the live, we can answer them later. There's right now, I don't think there's any.
I'm looking right now too. I'm looking if there's any questions, and
Jimmy
don't
is
think I can see.
watching. I think there's people watching, so but there's no
There's
there's
no questions.
there's no
I don't
question.
see questions.
But is there any afterwards? We can always answer back later on. So Patrick, right now there's a situation we are in with COVID-19, and you know a lot of small and medium businesses are closed, and also a lot of content creators and influencers don't work right now.
Hmm.
So I just want to ask you, what's going on with that, with all of that, on the content creation industry, like influencers?
Okay, so if we talk about like business wise for creators,
Yes.
it's not that it completely stopped. We still see some campaigns going on, and both from public and private sector. So we've seen
Okay.
some campaigns go on, and creators still, you know, using different platforms that they have to get money. Those who've completely like the money source has completely been cut, and right now the government today mentioned you can still win money as long as you're making less than $1,000. You can still apply for the CRB and get funding.
Okay.
So there is governmental funding like that that's not directly linked to your content, but it's linked to your personal finances. So there are some finances like that coming. I mean, generally speaking, like even though there's so much uncertainty, there's still like a lot of international push that things are coming to change very, very soon
Yes.
in a positive way. So we can only, you know, wait for that to happen and start doing it. Besides that, um, and the creator side, not business, but just creator side, if people are feeling ready, like they're mentally ready, they're physically ready, and
Yes.
they feel inspired to create, they can of course create, you know, like if they feel they're ready, then they can create. I've seen a lot of actually I've seen brands working with different creators
Okay.
to kind of showing how to create content being in quarantine, you know. And
Okay.
I've seen so many amazing content coming out of there. Now again, this is not any of these things that we're saying. It's not to pressure someone. If you don't feel like creating, then create, because at the beginning, like I said, if you're creating content, it has to come from your heart.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you don't feel good, then don't push yourself to create something. It's an art form. It's not gonna come out well, you know. But if you feel ready, if you feel up to the task, then yeah, you know, there's, as creators, we can find creative ways of doing stuff at home and publishing content if we're feeling like it. So
Exactly.
yeah, and like I said, the business side, I mean, it's slowly resuming, and governments are right now helping creators. I know a lot of creators were asking, like, if I'm getting ad revenue, can I still get paid? The answer today is yes, as long as you're making less than $1,000 a month.
Yeah,
the government is giving you the $2,000. So
exactly, because we are considered like a freelancer, so
hmm
yeah, content creators and influencers can get the $2,000 per month.
yeah,
So I guess there's a lot of help available. People have to go and check the Canada government website to see all the stuff there.
yeah.
Yeah. Patrick, before I let you go, I just want to say, where do you see the future of events? Like we are doing a live podcasting live on Facebook, and I see a lot of people doing the events live. Where this is going? Is this going to be like this? Is this the new way for events?
I hopefully not. I hope
Yeah.
that's not going to be the truth, because there's so much advantages of coming together. Of course, today our safety is an issue, so
Yes.
coming together isn't our best interest. But right now we're doing things online. Like right after this live, like we're doing our event online. We're bringing people online. That's great. In terms of facts of what we can see, governments are pushing things to 2022 before it becomes officially safe to do something.
Okay. Wow.
Right now for Quebec, I think it's until August 31st. They said don't do anything before August 31st.
Okay. Yeah.
But things are changing so fast. Like we're hearing right now that they want to reopen the businesses and so on
Yeah.
in a couple of weeks.
Exactly.
Um, it may or may not happen, but the future of events, uh, right now, this year, next year, and probably beginning of 2022, until this hasn't been officialized, people won't necessarily come together as
Yeah.
easily.
Okay.
We're not, like it's always people have to feel safe. If people feel safe, then there's no problem. They're
Okay.
gonna come together. If the governments don't allow, if there's no cure, or if our safety is an issue, then even myself as an organizer, I will feel responsible. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to bring people together and jeopardizing people's health. That for now, events are going to be online or on hold. We have
Yeah.
no choice.
Exactly.
Now talking about the optimistic side, after this, again, slowly by slowly, people, let's say we find a cure and we're not going to get sick.
Okay.
um yeah, it's going to take time before people come together, because again, they've been all in a shock saying stay home, right? They
Yeah.
haven't been seeing people, so it's going to take time before people can approach, but eventually, as long as we feel safe, it could come back to what it was before. Of course, I think worldwide as humans, we're going to take precaution, not only for events, but for everything in terms of hygiene. We're
Yes.
just going to be much more careful and making sure that things are clean, things are sanitized. We make sure like we're not transmitting any disease. We have we're probably going to have to think about disease prevention measures as event planners.
Yeah.
These things are going to be adapted in our day to day eventually after this. But are we going to come back together? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we will. Like as
Yes.
long as we feel safe.
Because human beings always want this connection in real life, so I think we will go back together, but as you
Mm-hmm.
said, there will be new stuff that gonna new measures, new stuff that gonna go with that. And I also believe that technology is gonna take a lot of place in events, maybe not now, but maybe VR, virtual reality, stuff like that. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, again, nothing can replace the person to person connection. It's all about progression. But yeah, I've been even experimenting with VR and stuff. Like if people have access to VR, we can do so many great things in coming together virtually.
Yes, exactly.
Again, it's never going to be the same, or at least if technology pushes and we become like Ready Player One, where we can actually feel and
Yeah,
touch and drink and do stuff in virtual and feel like if it's real. Until we get there, yeah, but even so, VR can still be a great possibility, but everyone needs to get access to it before.
exactly.
But we're smart. We're always gonna find new ways of connecting each other, and like I don't have a doubt that we're not gonna be able to beat this. We just don't know when, but we're gonna find solutions. And I mean, well, I don't know if you saw that there was this video about this guy in New York who wanted to date this girl from across the rooftop. He
Yeah.
eventually he got himself into a bubble and he went to see the girl.
Okay.
So I mean, there are ways, right? There are ways to still meeting people and doing events. We'll see. We'll see what the future will hold, and we'll see what we will be allowed to do or not do. But down the line, people will want to come together. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
that's what they want. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Patrick, so much for all the all this information. It was great. I know you have an event that you have to host in 10 minutes, but it was great. And I hope that this was the first time we did a Zoom live. So it went great. I hope I'm going to rewatch the live and see if everything was okay. But I'm just going to take a small selfie just to put it on Instagram that we did. So just smile. All right. Gotcha.
All right.
Right. Thank you so much for all the people that watched and listened to this live that we are also gonna put on YouTube as episode 7 of the podcast. Thank you so much, Patrick.
Thank you for having me, and hope to see people come to the meet and greet event that we're having. So
All right. Well, so what time? Like at
we start at 4 p.m.
All right. So we if people gonna want to, they can connect with Patrick. All right.
Yeah.
Bye bye, Patrick.
Bye bye.